The stars look different tonight, Commander Allison Wright thought as she gazed upward from the observation deck. Little did she know how different everything would soon become. It began on a Tuesday. The signal came through every communication device on Earth at exactly 3:17 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Television broadcasts, radio stations, cell phones, and computers all displayed the same message. We come in peace. Prepare for contact. Government agencies worldwide scrambled to respond. Within hours, the United Nations Security Council convened an emergency session, and Commander Wright received a call that would change her life forever. Commander, this is General Howard. You're being reassigned, effective immediately. Report to Andrews Air Force Base in 2 hours. Allison packed quickly, her mind racing. As one of the Space Force's most decorated officers, she had trained for many scenarios, but first contact wasn't one of them. At Andrews, she was escorted to a conference room where representatives from every major nation sat in tense silence. Secretary of Defense Patricia Miller nodded at her entrance. Commander Wright, thank you for coming. We've selected you to lead our diplomatic team. Diplomatic team, ma'am. For our alien visitors, they've requested a meeting at these coordinates. Patricia slid a folder across the table. Their ship will arrive tomorrow. The coordinates led to a remote field in North Dakota. By dawn, military personnel had established a perimeter, and Allison stood at the center with her hastily assembled team. Dr. Peter Callahan, a xenolinguist, Major Eric Johnson, security specialist, and Dr. Nancy Flores, exobiologist. What do you think they want? Eric asked, checking his sidearm for the 10th time. If they wanted to harm us, they wouldn't announce their arrival, Peter replied, though his voice betrayed his uncertainty. At exactly noon, the clouds parted. A ship descended silently, its metallic surface reflecting the sunlight. It wasn't large, perhaps the size of a commercial airplane, but its design was like nothing they had ever seen. A seam appeared in the hull, widening into a doorway. A ramp extended to the ground, and a figure emerged. The alien stood nearly 7 feet tall with bluish-gray skin. Its 4 arms moved with fluid grace, and its large eyes, completely black, seemed to take in everything at once. I am Ambassador Zorthak of the Veldaran species, it said in perfect English. I represent the Galactic Council. Dr. Callahan stepped forward. How are you speaking our language? We have observed your world for centuries. Your languages are simple. Allison noticed the subtle insult but maintained her composure. We welcome you to Earth, Ambassador. I'm Commander Wright of the United States Space Force. Your military title is unnecessary. We come with peaceful intentions. Over the next several hours, Zorthak explained that Earth had been monitored since humans first developed basic tools. The Galactic Council, a federation of 12 advanced species, governed this sector of the galaxy and had deemed Earth ready for integration. We offer technology, knowledge, and protection, Zorthak said. In exchange, Earth will accept the Council's governance. Allison felt uneasy. What does governance entail, exactly? Resource management, population control, cultural guidance, the standard arrangement for developing worlds. That evening, in a secure facility, Allison expressed her concerns to her team. They're talking about colonization, she said. Peter nodded. The language they use, integration, cultural guidance, it's the rhetoric of imperialism. But their technology is centuries beyond ours, Nancy pointed out. The medical advancements alone could save millions of lives. Eric remained skeptical. Nothing comes for free. After days of preliminary talks, Earth's governments agreed to send representatives to the Council's space station. Zorthak provided a ship and coordinates. As Allison boarded with her team and delegates from 30 nations, she couldn't shake the feeling that humanity was walking into a trap. The ship's engines hummed to life, and Earth grew smaller behind them. Be on guard, she whispered to Eric. Something tells me the Council's offer isn't as generous as it seems. The ship accelerated to impossible speeds, carrying humanity's future into the stars. The journey lasted 3 days. For Allison and her team, it felt both endless and too short. The alien ship moved through space in ways that defied Earth physics, jumping vast distances in moments before slowing to crawl through what Zorthak called sensitive zones. Captain Frank Morrison, head of Earth's security team, spent most of the journey observing their hosts. "They're keeping us away from certain controls," he whispered to Allison during a meal break. "And did you notice? They've got weapons systems they're trying to hide." Allison had noticed. Despite Zorthak's claims of peaceful intentions, the ship bristled with concealed weapon ports. She simply nodded to Frank, aware that they were likely being monitored. On the 3rd day, the main viewing screen activated. "We approached the council station," Zorthak announced. The human delegation gathered to look. What they saw took their breath away. The station wasn't just big, it was massive. A structure larger than Earth's moon hung in space, its surface glittering with lights and movement. Hundreds of ships of various designs docked along its equator. "The heart of civilization in this sector," Zorthak said with obvious pride. "Home to representatives of over 50 species." Dr. Samantha Ellis, Earth's chief negotiator, stepped forward. "How many of these species are council members?" 12 govern. The rest serve." The word serve wasn't lost on Samantha, who exchanged a glance with Allison. Their ship docked smoothly. The delegation was led through gleaming corridors filled with aliens of all descriptions. Some walked on tentacles, others floated, and a few moved on what appeared to be wheels. Many stopped to stare at the humans with expressions ranging from curiosity to what looked disturbingly like hunger. They arrived at an enormous chamber. 12 elevated platforms formed a circle, each occupied by a different alien species. In the center was a smaller platform, clearly meant for those addressing the council. "The human delegation will approach," boomed a voice from above. Samantha led the group forward while Allison and Frank stayed slightly behind, observing. The central platform rose as they stepped onto it, bringing them face to face with the council members. "Earth has been assessed and found acceptable for integration," said a massive creature with 6 eyes and skin like polished metal. "We welcome your world to the community of civilized planets." "Thank you," Samantha replied. "We look forward to learning more about this community and the benefits of membership." "Benefits are earned," said another council member, this one resembling a tall insect. "First, obligations must be understood." Over the next few hours, the council laid out their terms. Humans would be classified as a protectorate species. Earth would receive limited technology, mostly medical and agricultural. Space travel would be restricted to council-approved vessels and routes. Earth would provide yearly resource quotas, including minerals and biological samples. Council representatives would establish permanent outposts on Earth to assist with governance. As the terms were explained, Frank moved closer to Allison. "This isn't a treaty," he muttered. "It's a surrender document." Allison agreed. The terms offered no path to full council membership, no timeline for advancement, and no guarantee of Earth's sovereignty. When the council finished, Samantha spoke carefully. "We appreciate this offer, but these terms require careful consideration. We would like time to consult with our governments." The 6-eyed creature leaned forward. "There is nothing to consider. These terms are standard for species at your development level." "Even so," Samantha insisted, "our protocols require consultation." The council members exchanged looks. Finally, Zorthak stepped forward. "You misunderstand. The treaty is not a request. Compliance is not optional." A cold silence fell over the human delegation. Allison felt it then. The trap was sprung. "And if we refuse?" Frank asked. The insect-like council member clicked its mandibles. "Then you will learn why no species has ever refused." The room temperature seemed to drop several degrees. Samantha Ellis maintained her diplomatic smile, though her knuckles whitened as she gripped the edge of the platform. "Perhaps we've misunderstood each other," she said calmly. "On Earth, treaties are agreements between equals. The council member with metal skin made a sound like grinding gears. "You are not our equals." Zorthak stepped forward, seemingly uncomfortable with the tension. "What the council means is that Earth requires guidance. For your own protection." "Protection from what?" Frank asked, hand instinctively moving toward his sidearm before Allison stopped him with a slight touch. The insect-like being clicked its mandibles again. "From yourselves, primarily. Your species has nearly destroyed your planet multiple times." "And from others," added a council member who resembled a cloud of purple gas contained in a transparent shell. "Not all spacefaring races are as benevolent as the council." Allison noticed how several council members shifted at this statement. There was disagreement here, perhaps even factions. "We appreciate your concern," Samantha continued smoothly. "However, we must insist on time to consult our governments. Surely a few Earth days won't matter to such an ancient institution as yours." After a tense silence, the council granted them 12 Earth hours to reflect on their situation. Guards escorted them to quarters that, despite their luxury, were clearly monitored and locked from the outside. Once alone, Frank immediately began searching for surveillance devices. He found 17 before giving up. "They're watching everything," he muttered. "Then let's give them a show," Allison replied. She gestured for the team to gather around a table with data tablets provided by their hosts. She wrote on a tablet, "Assumi all communications monito AD. Use these for HFY only." Aloud, she said, "Let's review the council's generous offer." For the next hour, they pretended to debate the merits of the treaty while passing notes about their actual concerns and observations. Peter discovered that the tablets could access a limited version of the council's information network, giving them some insight into the station's operations. During a bathroom break, Samantha whispered to Allison, "They've already marked Earth for resource extraction. This treaty is just formality." Before Allison could respond, the door to their quarters slid open. Zorthak entered, followed by 2 guard species they hadn't seen before, bulky creatures with natural armor plates. "The council has reconvened," Zorthak announced. "They require your answer." "It's barely been 3 hours," Samantha protested. "Time is valuable. Come." Back in the chamber, the council didn't bother with pleasantries. The six-eyed leader spoke directly. "Your decision." Samantha stepped forward. "With respect, we need to consult with our full governments. We request return transport to Earth." A ripple of what might have been laughter moved through the council. The leader raised a limb, and a holographic display appeared above them. It showed Earth's solar system, with pulsing dots scattered throughout. "These monitoring stations have been in place for decades," the leader explained. "They can be repurposed for containment if necessary." Allison felt cold realization wash over her. The dots represented weapons platforms. "You're threatening us," Frank said, dropping all pretense of diplomacy. "Merely informing. You have 1 Earth year to implement the treaty terms. After that, containment measures begin." "What does containment mean, exactly?" Samantha asked, though her voice suggested she already knew. "Restriction of your species to your planet. Permanently." The Insect Council member's voice hardened. "Uncooperative species have been known to suffer atmospheric degradation events. Unfortunate, but sometimes necessary." Zorthak looked genuinely troubled. "This is not the Council's preferred outcome. Accept the treaty. Thrive under our guidance." Samantha straightened her back. "We will return to Earth with your offer." As they were escorted back to their ship, Allison whispered to Frank, "They just made the biggest mistake in their history." Frank nodded grimly. "Never back humans into a corner." The journey back to Earth was silent, each delegate lost in thought about the coming year, and the resistance that would begin the moment they touched down. News of the Council's ultimatum spread quickly after the delegation returned to Earth. Instead of panic, something unexpected happened. Nations that had fought each other for centuries united almost overnight. The United Defense Initiative, UDI, formed within a week, with virtually every country signing on. They think we'll just roll over and accept their terms, President Garcia said during the first UDI meeting. Leaders from around the world filled the secure underground facility. They've clearly never studied human history. Commander Allison Wright stood at attention near the wall, observing. She had been promoted to lead the military response, working directly with the UDI leadership. "We can't match their technology," said the Chinese president, "but perhaps we can surprise them." Allison stepped forward when called upon. "We have less than a year to prepare. Every second counts." The plan took shape over the following days. On the surface, Earth would appear to be preparing for integration. Diplomatic channels with Zorthak remained open, with Dr. Ellis leading carefully scripted negotiations that aimed only to buy time. Meanwhile, below the surface, sometimes literally, Earth prepared for war. Kevin West, a brilliant engineer who had examined the alien technology samples, made an important discovery 3 weeks after the ultimatum. He burst into Allison's office, his eyes wide with excitement. "Their weapons have a blind spot," he said, spreading diagrams across her desk. "They use energy frequencies we don't, but they completely ignore certain wavelengths we consider dangerous." "Can we exploit that?" Allison asked. Kevin grinned. "I'm already building prototypes." Across the globe, military training facilities were converted to house new space combat programs. Fighter pilots were secretly retrained to handle spacecraft based on reverse-engineered alien tech. Old missile silos became manufacturing centers for new weapons designed by Kevin and his team. Captain Frank Morrison oversaw security and counterintelligence. "The Council probably has spies on Earth," he warned during a strategy meeting. "We need to feed them false information." Dr. Peter Callahan led efforts to understand Council communication networks. He worked closely with Linda Rice, a computer programmer who had been developing advanced algorithms before the aliens arrived. "Their entire network runs on principles similar to our quantum computing," Linda explained to Allison during a progress report. "It's advanced, but not uncrackable." "How long?" Allison asked. "A few more months, maybe less if we push." Dr. Ellis made perhaps the most surprising discovery. While reviewing biological data on the Council species, she noticed patterns. "They're specialists," she told the UDI leadership. "Each species evolved in a specific environment and adapted perfectly to it. But that specialization is also a weakness." "Meaning what?" President Garcia asked. "Humans are generalists. We adapt to deserts, Arctic conditions, high altitudes, underwater environments. We can eat almost anything, survive extreme conditions. The Council species can't. They're powerful in their specific environments, but vulnerable outside them." This information transformed Earth's strategy. Instead of trying to match the Council's technology directly, they would exploit these evolutionary weaknesses. 6 months into their preparation, the UDI launched its first spacecraft capable of interplanetary travel. The U.S. Defiant, built in secret using a combination of human ingenuity and reverse-engineered alien technology, carried Allison and a small crew on a mission to the outer solar system. Officially, they were testing mining equipment for resource extraction that would satisfy Council demands. In reality, they were setting up the first line of defense and gathering intelligence on the monitoring stations. As the Defiant left Earth orbit, Allison looked back at the blue planet. "They think we're preparing to surrender," she said to her pilot, Joe Martins. "But when the time comes, they'll learn what humans do when cornered." Joe nodded grimly. "We don't surrender. We fight back." The Defiant accelerated toward Jupiter, its experimental engines leaving a trail that Council sensors couldn't detect. 9 months into Earth's preparation, disaster struck without warning. Council ships appeared in Earth's atmosphere over major cities worldwide. The deadline had been moved forward without notice. In Washington, D.C., Dr. Samantha Ellis was in the middle of a video conference with other UDI leaders when the first ship appeared outside her window. "They're here," she said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "Implement Emergency Protocol Delta immediately." Across the globe, hidden defense systems came online. Not all were ready, but humanity had no choice now. The fight had come early. The U.S. Defiant was near Saturn when they received the emergency transmission. Allison gathered her crew on the bridge. The Council has betrayed the terms of their own ultimatum, she told them. They've begun landing troops in major cities. Joe Martinez, her pilot, shook his head. We're 3 days from Earth at maximum speed. Then we find another way to help, Allison replied. She turned to her communications officer. Contact Captain Morrison. Find out what's happening on the ground. Back on Earth, Frank Morrison led the ground resistance from a bunker beneath Denver. Council forces had established footholds in 37 locations globally, but were meeting fierce resistance. They expected us to surrender immediately, Frank told his lieutenants. They didn't expect us to be ready. The alien troops were well armed but confused by human tactics. Their battle computers had been programmed for conventional warfare, not the guerrilla strategies Frank had implemented. Linda Rice worked frantically at her station in the bunker, her fingers flying over the keyboard. I've almost got into their communication network. Just a few more minutes. Dr. Peter Callahan helped translate the alien codes Linda was breaking. They're calling for reinforcements, he said, but they're also reporting confusion. On the Council's command ship in orbit, Ambassador Zorthak argued with the military commander, a Krex named Vordal, whose species resembled armored reptiles. The agreement was 1 Earth year, Zorthak insisted. Moving early violates our own laws. The Council voted to accelerate the timeline. Vordal replied, his scaled face unreadable. The humans were preparing defenses. Our observers reported unusual activities. Of course they were preparing. You threatened their world. Vordal turned away dismissively. Your sympathy for primitives is noted, Ambassador. In space, Allison made a bold decision. Instead of rushing back to Earth, the Defiant approached one of the Council's monitoring stations near Jupiter. Using Kevin's experimental weapons, they disabled it without destroying it. Prepare boarding teams, Allison ordered. We're taking that station. The Council had never expected humans to reach their monitoring stations, so defenses were minimal. Within hours, the Defiant crew had control of the facility and access to its systems. Allison's second-in-command, Lieutenant Ben Foster, examined the station's control center. We can use this to monitor Council fleet movements, he said. And maybe more. On Earth, Linda finally broke through the Council's security protocols. I'm in, she shouted. I can see their communications, their battle plans, everything. What she found shocked everyone. The Council had never intended to honor the treaty. Earth was scheduled for resource extraction after pacification. Humans would be relocated to labor colonies on distant planets. Frank's face hardened as he reviewed the information. Send this to every UDI cell, he ordered. Everyone needs to know what we're really fighting for. As resistance intensified globally, the Council forces found themselves in unexpected difficulty. Human weapons, enhanced with Kevin's modifications, penetrated their shields. Human tactics confused their battle computers, and human determination proved fiercer than anything they had encountered before. In orbit, Allison used the captured monitoring station to send a message to all UDI forces. Hold fast. We're coming home. And we're bringing help. The Council forces had expected an easy victory. After all, they had conquered dozens of worlds before Earth. None had lasted more than a few days against their advanced technology. But 2 weeks into the invasion, they were still fighting for control of major cities. What is happening? Demanded Vordal from his command ship. Why are these primitives not surrendering? His tactical officer, another Krex, studied the battle reports with confusion. Their resistance does not match our models. They adapt too quickly. They change tactics constantly. On the ground in Chicago, Frank Morrison led a counterattack against a Council stronghold. His forces used a discovery made by Dr. Ellis. The Velderan troops could not process certain sound frequencies that were harmless to humans. "Activate the sonic disruptors," Frank ordered. His soldiers put in their special earplugs while large speakers blasted a specific tone across the battlefield. The effect was immediate. The Veldaran troops dropped their weapons, clutching at whatever they had for ears. The human forces moved in quickly, capturing alien technology and taking prisoners for the first time. Similar scenes played out across the globe as UDI forces exploited the specific weaknesses of each council species. In Moscow, they used controlled humidity levels that jammed the breathing systems of the insect-like council troops. In Sydney, they deployed lights at frequencies that blinded but didn't harm humans. In orbit, the U.S. Defiant had succeeded beyond Allison's wildest hopes. After capturing the monitoring station, they had used its systems to disable 2 other stations. Then they captured a small council scout ship. "Their technology is powerful but not intuitive," commented Kevin West as he studied the ship's engines. "It's like they stopped innovating centuries ago." Allison watched as her crew quickly learned to pilot the alien vessel. "Can we use their weapons systems?" "Better," Kevin replied with a grin. "I can modify them to be twice as effective." They never pushed the limits of what this technology can do. Dr. Peter Callahan made perhaps the most important discovery when he decrypted the ship's database. "Commander," he called to Allison, "you need to see this." The database contained detailed information on all council species. Each had evolved in specific environments and developed remarkable abilities, but also significant limitations. The council had originally formed as a defensive pact between complementary species, each protecting the other's weaknesses. But over time, it had become corrupted into an empire. "Look at this," Peter pointed to a file. "The Kreks are physically powerful, but have poor vision in low light. The Veldarans have advanced technology, but are extremely sensitive to certain sounds. The gaseous Mrill can't function in high humidity. Every species has a weakness," Allison realized. "And humans." "That's just it," Peter said excitedly. "They list dozens of human weaknesses, but they're actually our strengths. Our varied diet, our ability to live in different climates, our adaptability. They see these as evolutionary flaws. They expected us to be specialists like them." Allison immediately transmitted this information to Earth. Within hours, UDI forces had adjusted their strategies accordingly, targeting the specific weaknesses of each council species they faced. Meanwhile, Zorthak had made a decision. Disgusted by the council's dishonesty, he approached Allison through a secure channel. "Commander Wright, I wish to speak with you," he said, his voice low. "Not all of us support this invasion." "Why should I trust you?" Allison asked. "Because I can help you access the Council's main fleet. Their defenses have a flaw. The same flaw your Kevin West discovered in their weapons. They never expect to be attacked, so they never improved their shields." Allison studied the alien's face, looking for signs of deception. Finding none, she nodded. "Tell me more." On Earth, the tide was turning. For the first time, a council dropship had been shot down intact, its technology ripe for study. Frank's forces had reclaimed control of 3 major cities, and Linda Ray's had planted a virus in the council's communication network that was slowly spreading, undetected. The council was learning a painful lesson. Humans were not to be underestimated. 1 month after the invasion began, Earth launched its counter-offensive. The plan, codenamed Operation Pushback, started simultaneously across the globe. In orbit, a fleet of captured and modified council ships, led by the U.S. Defiant, engaged the main invasion force. Allison commanded from the bridge of a captured cruiser she had renamed Freedom. "All ships, commence attack pattern Delta," she ordered. "Target their communication arrays first, then weapons." The Council fleet commanders were stunned. They had expected token resistance from a few human military satellites, not a coordinated attack from ships using their own technology, but modified to be more effective. Zorthak, now openly allied with the humans, provided critical intelligence from his position aboard the Freedom. "Their flagship is the large vessel at these coordinates," he told Allison. Disable it, and their command structure will fragment. On the ground, Frank Morrison led the assault to reclaim New York City. His forces used tactics that confused the Council battle computers, which were programmed for conventional warfare. Small teams struck from unexpected directions, used subways and sewers to move unseen, and employed weapons modified with Kevin's technology. They expect us to attack head-on, Frank told his squad leaders. So we'll do the opposite. Strike from behind, from below, from above. Never do what they expect. In Denver, Linda Rice launched her masterstroke, a virus that spread through the Council's communication network, scrambling their orders and inserting false information. It's working, she told Dr. Ellis as they watched the chaos unfold on monitoring screens. Their ships are receiving contradictory commands. Dr. Ellis had been busy with her own critical mission. Through careful study of the Council's biology and social structure, she had identified two species, the Threll and the Nivar, who had been coerced into joining the Council centuries ago. Now she opened negotiations with their representatives. Your peoples have been used as frontline troops in a war you didn't choose, she told them via secure channel. We offer alliance instead of subjugation. It was a gamble, but it paid off. Within hours, Threll and Nivar forces across Earth stopped fighting. Some even turned against the other Council troops, creating confusion in their ranks. The Council was facing revolt from within and unexpected resistance from without. Their carefully structured hierarchy began to crumble. In orbit, Allison's fleet had disabled the Council flagship. Boarding parties, led by Lieutenant Ben Foster, captured the command center. The commanding admiral, a six-eyed being from the species that led the Council, was taken prisoner. Impossible, the admiral kept saying. Primitives cannot defeat the Council. It has never happened. First time for everything, Ben replied as he secured the alien's multiple limbs. With control of the flagship's systems, Allison broadcast a message to all Council forces. Your command structure is broken. Your communications are compromised. Your allies have abandoned you. Surrender, and you will be treated according to Earth's laws of war. Continue fighting and face defeat. Council forces began surrendering across the globe. Some fought on, but without coordination or central command, they were quickly overwhelmed. As the day ended, Frank's forces raised the UDI flag over the last Council stronghold in New York. Cheers erupted across the city as news spread that the invaders were retreating. But Allison knew the war wasn't over. The Council homeworld would soon learn of their defeat. She gathered her senior officers and Zorthak in the captured flagship's conference room. We've won the battle for Earth, she told them, but the Council will send more ships, more troops. Unless we take the fight to them, Kevin West finished her thought. Allison nodded. Exactly. We need to strike at the heart of the Council before they can regroup. Zorthak entered coordinates into the ship's navigation system. This is the location of the Council homeworld. With this ship's jump drive, we can be there in 3 days. Allison studied the alien star map and made her decision. Set course. It's time the Council learned the consequences of their actions. The Council homeworld, Zentura, was a marvel of technology and beauty. Massive crystal spires rose into the clouds. Ships of all designs moved through carefully organized flight lanes. It was the center of power for 1,000 star systems, and it had never expected to face an attack. When the captured Council flagship dropped out of faster-than-light travel near Zentura, alarms sounded across the planet for the first time in centuries. Defense systems, long neglected, struggled to activate. Allison stood on the bridge, watching the beautiful world grow larger on the view screen. Broadcast on all frequencies, she ordered. I want to speak to the Council directly. The surprised faces of the 12 species representatives appeared on the screen. The six-eyed leader spoke first. How dare you bring a stolen vessel to our sacred world? Your primitiveness knows no bounds. We come to negotiate peace, Allison replied calmly. But this time, as equals. Laughter rippled through the Council chamber. Equals. You barely escaped your own planet. Actually, Dr. Ellis stepped forward. We didn't just escape. We defeated your invasion force, captured your flagship, and jumped to your homeworld, all within 6 weeks of your first attack. I'd say that makes us worthy of respect. The council members shifted uncomfortably. This was not how conquered species behaved. Zorthak moved to stand beside Allison. Honored Council, I have witnessed the humans' capabilities firsthand. They are not like other species we have encountered. Continuing this conflict is not in our interest. Traitor, hissed the insect-like council member. No, Zorthak replied. I uphold the original values of the council, cooperation between different species for mutual benefit. You have forgotten those values. Linda Reyes, monitoring communications from the ship, suddenly called out, Commander, I'm detecting transmissions to multiple fleet locations. They're calling for reinforcements. Kevin West looked up from his console with a smile. Let them try. I've modified our shields based on what we learned. They can't hurt us before we complete our mission. Allison nodded and turned back to the council. We have evidence of your violations against not only Earth but dozens of other worlds. You've broken your own laws, your own treaties. With a signal from Allison, Linda broadcast to all planets in council space the files they had recovered. Evidence of deception, resource theft, and hidden plans for enslaving entire species, including members of the council who had shown any resistance. This is being transmitted to every world under your control, Allison informed them, including those of the Threll and Nevar, who have already joined our cause. Panic erupted in the council chamber as reports came in of uprisings on multiple worlds. Species that had been subjugated for centuries saw a chance for freedom and took it. What do you want? The six-eyed leader finally asked, all arrogance gone from its voice. A new beginning, Dr. Ellis replied. The dissolution of the current council and the formation of a galactic confederation where all species have equal representation. Impossible. The council has ruled for millennia. The council has failed. Zorthak countered. Look around you. Your empire is collapsing because you chose oppression over cooperation. Within hours, 3 council members had switched sides, seeing the inevitable end of the old order. Within days, as news spread of Earth's victory and the evidence of council crimes, more followed. 1 week after arriving at Centera, Allison and Dr. Ellis stood in the ancient council chamber as representatives of 57 species, including all 12 former council races, signed the first charter of the Galactic Confederation. A new era begins today, Ellis announced to the assembled delegates, one of true cooperation and respect. Later, on the observation deck of their ship, Allison looked out at the stars, thinking of Earth and how far they had come. Do you think they regret it? Kevin asked, joining her. Threatening Earth, I mean. Allison smiled. I think this was the day the Galactic Council regretted their own decisions more than any other in their long history. Across the galaxy, a new order was taking shape, one where humanity would play a central role, not as conquerors, but as the unexpected champions of freedom for countless worlds.